All right, good evening, everybody. I'm Jackson Pierce, the host of the Real Life Monopoly podcast, coming to you live from South Carolina. And today with us, we have Nate Marshall, who has started his own real estate community called Reindeer, and it's got a focus on private money lending and just establishing those kind of private money relationships. And we're going to dive kind of deep into that and kind of how he built that out of the environment that is modern real estate investing. So Nate, you want to introduce yourself a little bit more?
Okay, cool. So I started in the real estate business about 8 years ago, doing private money broker. Like everyone else, I went to all the fix and flip seminars. All the HGTV people like come learn how to do this. Got frustrated. Nobody could ever tell me where the money comes from. They said you can do without none of your own money. The whole pitch that everyone gets. So finally, I went to one that was a 3-day seminar, and I was like 3-day funding tour by Lee Arnold, and I'm like, what are they doing in 3 hours? Because most of those were 2 hours. What are they gonna do in 3 days? It was like 3 days, and it was cool. And I signed up to become a private money broker, which I took a 40-hour course. I didn't actually take the classroom. The classroom course was in Atlanta. I was in Denver in my office at the time, so I had to go in at like 6 in the morning and take a 40-hour class over 4 days to learn how to do it. Then I brokered about 250 deals. In the process, I learned a lot. I taught myself a lot working with securities attorneys and just learning the different, because we were mostly at Lee Arnold learning single family. We did get into some multifamilies up to like 8 units, but that was about it. Most everything else I kind of just learned on my own. But I started seeing like everybody else, and right around, I had a maybe 2019-20, I had an epiphany that if I build a group and I have a self-contained group and we can fund deals, and then that would be an ideal situation. We can actually have people train each other. We were going to start what we call Private Money University, which we were getting ready to launch in 2020, right before COVID. We were also doing a capital raise to fund a 112-story building in Denver. I had two partners, actually three. One was an ex-stuntman who did a lot of the skiing for James Bond in the James Bond movies. Anytime in the 80s and 90s had James Bond skiing, one of my partners was the stuntman playing James Bond. So and that kind of got crushed because the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Singapore was going to fund it. And they of course, pulled everything during COVID. So during COVID, like I said, we're getting ready to launch Private Money University. And I just decided, I said, well, I need to put this just to keep people talking, because we're all home, we're all depressed. The whole world is shut down. And so I found 13 people, and none of them I knew from this other what we were doing before. They all joined this group, and over the last 4 years, it became 155 people. And we brought in a lot of lenders. Last year, I think we opened up once. We got Life Changing Lending came on board. We got other lenders, and then Gwen Hinton came on board to do our EMD gap transaction coordination. She's an independent businesswoman, retired Federal Reserve banker. We added in all the components that basically said I could do the Private Money University, but I rebranded it called Reindeer. I was looking for a kind of a name that would just stand out and always gets kind of a little laugh until I say it's what we are and what we do. Real estate investors, networking, disposition, education, empowerment, and resources. Over those 8 years, I've managed to collect or build. I had an original partner in 2017-18 that had given me 11 thumb drives with all kinds of documents and contracts and LOIs, and you see most of that stuff in the Facebook group that you're in. So I've managed to collect over 150 items, a considerable amount of documentation material. So it just became, let's launch this platform and basically go to a subscription base. No one has to make a long story short, I wanted to make it where people didn't have to go and pay $2,000, $1,500, whatever to a guru, good or bad ones. Because it's just in my experience that a lot of people get frustrated. They get into a single focus guru group, and if they want to do something else, good luck getting their money back. And a lot of times those gurus are kind of stuck in one strategy because that's all they know. So that's kind of where Reindeer came out of. It was trying to do a subscription. We're like a streaming service. People have full access to everything. They can do videos, they can do messaging and all that stuff like a streaming. If after 3 or 4 months they get what they need, they want to stay in, they can just hit pause, or they can cancel. So we're doing a subscription service. The 155 people in the group now, 125 are revenue sharing, and so they'll actually get revenue some sharing off of the $35 per month per subscription. I just raised it from 30 to 35, starting at 100 subscriptions, so people will actually get who have been in the group because they paid the $399, which I kept the amount low because I didn't want it to be a guru group. I just wanted to basically use that to basically maintain all the resources that I have, because a lot of it takes time to redo them. Sometimes have some some people off of Fiverr and stuff touch stuff up for me.
Right. So you're kind of building your own community then. It's small, relative to a lot of these other larger ones. Everybody knows about like Pace Morby's like sub 2 community, and everybody knows about like astro flipping. Everybody kind of knows about like Vina Jetty's stuff or the multifamily mindset stuff. Like those are all like large groups. Yours is kind of small right now, but it's kind of cool the way that you've focused it really on bringing value to people for like, I mean, a relatively low cost. I mean, for considering the amount of time and energy and the value of all the networking that's been done to accumulate all those resources. So what do you where do you want that to go?
Well, right now, so we're getting ready to launch imminently, probably first week in November. We should launch it on agentsgather.com, which is owned by Danny Skelly, who's a realtor friend from my town of Evergreen, Colorado. He built it kind of basically, he based it off of Active Rain, which has 300,000 people. I don't know how many are actually active paying. He's a real estate broker, owns his own brokerage. He's a one-man show in a town where he's got to compete with Coldwell Banker having 8 agents or Sotheby's, all of them, because it's a very affluent community. So he built this Agents Gather, opened it up about a year ago, and it's incredible. And Danny was doing, before he got into real estate, he was doing Google and all the SEO and optimization for people before, and people knew what it was. So people are getting really good results. So we were going to build it on Lightspeed VT, which is a lot of people use that. I was using that in the construction industry, and we're going to use it. I'm not really going to go into it if anybody wants to talk about it later, but we decided to use LearnDash.com. And so LearnDash can interface directly with Agents Gather and make it like, the interface works, and Danny can build it all into there. So we'll be able to put up videos. So we'll be able to put up all the downloads. We're doing it in 5 phases. The first one is underway now. Just basically, the whole idea is my goal is in 5 years, when I wake up on January 1st, 2030, is to have 10,000 monthly subscribers. The beauty is people can come and go, and they'll sign up for $99 a month. If they drop off, then they come back. We're going to do, every phase is going to have a price increase, but everybody that comes in the beginning will pay $99. If they stay in for life, whatever, they can pause. Just like if you have a Paramount Plus or Hulu or any of the streaming services, you can hit pause. Well, you get a little hedge. They can't get anything new while they're on pause, but they'll be able to come back and enjoy their benefits, and building a community where people can download LOIs and they could download, whatever they need. And they can also watch videos. I have enough material to generate about 500 I'm trying to be about 5 to 7 minutes, no longer than 10-minute videos covering every real estate topic, from basically how to set up your LLC all the way to you 10 years later, you've got $30 million, portfolio. How do you transfer that wealth to your heirs? And then basically bringing in guides, phase 2 communities and guides, communities or groups, like would be on Facebook. We'd have people running those groups who are getting the revenue share. And then we'll have guides, which will come in phase 2. The price increase will cover compensating people to do peer-to-peer. So the whole idea is peer-to-peer, not to have anybody guru, not to really promote. I mean, people can do it off there. They can use it to get attention and get, for themselves. But we want to have a higher quality of people actually doing the work. And I want to kind of base it on where I get a lot of this from the guides is the trade school and community college background. Like after I got in the military, I took, I went to, get my fire science degree, and I was a county fire marshal for Las Cruces, New Mexico, Steamboat Springs, Colorado, a couple of the fire departments I worked for. When I was doing that, I wanted to be a fire investigator. So I'm learning from the guys doing fire investigations for the Denver Fire Department, the Aurora, Colorado Fire Department. And that's where I learned I want to have that kind of model where you almost mirror people. So you can mirror, and that's what we have in the group. I think with a lot of people, we probably have 25 or 30 people consistently on the Zooms. So out of that, people will be able to apply like a selection and screening process. and then being able to put their own videos up there, run their own message boards, have lenders actually involved in it. So let's say there's a single family for flips, then you can have just the lenders in that group that do flips. If they only do short-term rentals, they're not going to be in that community. So it cuts down on all these Facebook groups with 30,000 people, like you mentioned, larger groups where somebody puts something in there, and probably as good as I do, if you put a deal in there, you're going to get all kinds of different responses.
Yeah.
And I learned that over time, over 8 years, of kind of like what people get frustrated about. I think there's only 2 groups on Facebook besides mine that I actually think are run pretty well. And obviously Jim Ingersoll's group is probably I think one of the best deal makers. It had a couple 100,000 people at one time. Now his backup group that he had to start has 4,000. And I think the smaller group for me is a lot better because we get to know each other. Everybody gets to know each other, become friends, and I think that's better while we're launching this because we're not going to know all the subscribers. They'll be able to come and go, and hopefully we get to know them. But if my goal is 10,000 subscribers, we're not going to get to know 10,000 people, but we're also going to slow roll it. Like if we have 1,000 people come in at one time, we're going to slow roll it because I want to make sure that everybody has the resources. There's a balance, like the justice scales. They show with the scales. We always want to have it. Do we need another lender? Do we need it's always that balance. That's what I've tried to do. I think at the time when you came in too, I was trying to do that. I was trying to add a few more people who could do EMD and stuff like that. Because we had a lot of people that wanted to make some money on this, and I've had, obviously, you've seen some of the posts I've made. We have people in the group that are looking to make a little extra money, but they don't necessarily want to go out and do be a gator or something. They want to just, it's for them, it's just trying to, a means to an end of being involved as a group, maybe doing peer to peer inside the group and not having, through Gwen and stuff or, yourself and some other people that are doing EMD and GAP. Everybody can charge. So that's kind of been the focus. My whole thing is just being a platform rather than a publisher, and basically giving everybody that's in the group a way to basically get their name out there, using Agents Gather, getting all the resources they can study on their own time. They come home, from work after they make dinner for their kids, or kids are doing homework, they can go watch 5 videos. And here's the thing, like I said, if somebody wants to do multifamily, but they're not quite ready, maybe they're looking at 3 to 5 years. Maybe they can exponentially decrease that time frame, get the learning because they can watch the videos, they network with the people that are doing it, build those friendships, get the lenders in place. Because here's another thing that I have. One of my biggest pet peeves the entire time I've done this is I think connectors are the new thing, but I'm like, I never signed a client if I didn't have the lender already in place. Like I never had to go find a lender for my client. I think that was kind of irresponsible. Like if I didn't have one, I just like, cool, I can't help you. I'll be glad to, keep you in mind or something like that if I see somebody, but I'm wasting their time. As soon as I sign a contract, they're on the clock already. And, sometimes somebody would, like I told you earlier before we went on a recording, it's like I've had people hit me up on Christmas Eve who weren't in the group who have a closing on Friday, their lenders disappeared. There's things that are just pet peeves of mine that have gone into this. And I've tried, and I want it to stay small. I want to slow roll it. I don't want to necessarily become, I don't want to be like this to be bigger pockets or anything with hundreds of, because I think it gets to be the point where you lose control.
Yeah, for sure. I think I want to double tap that a little bit. The way you addressed the fact that it's like irresponsible to take on a deal or like a client, let's call them the borrower, without already having a lender like ready. And that's a very interesting perspective, because a lot of times it's almost thought of as better for it to be the opposite. You should never bring a deal to a lender unless your borrower has like all their ducks in a row, right? But I think it's important to recognize that like both sides of the deal, whether you're the lender or the borrower, everybody's just trying to make money by adding value to homes, right? I mean, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
And so when like I think that's a really important point that you brought up about like you're providing a service to the borrower too. Like it's not like, for me, I like to think of it as like, hey, like borrower comes to me, like I have my whole like group of lenders that I know that I can bring deals to, that they'll like reach back out to me with feedback. And so a borrower brings a deal to me. I'm like, hey, like I want to save as much time as possible because I know you're on the clock. You waited until the 11th hour to get to like go find money, which sucks. But I mean, it can still happen, right? It's happened before. I've gotten deals done like that should not have by any rights closed, right?
Yeah.
On like when they came to me, but like you can get it done, but it is so much easier if all the ducks are in a row. It's like I need to know your purchase price, your rental cost, your ARV. I need if you have already pulled comps, don't make me go pull comps because if I have to go pull comps, that's 20 extra minutes in between you and my lender, right? And
Yeah.
so I think like we lose sight of like, hey, everybody's trying to be profitable. Everybody's trying to navigate the weird rate environment, the weird like buyer sentiments, the fact that like $250,000 today does not go as far as $250,000 went 3 years ago. Everybody and like it's not like people are making more money than 3 years ago. We're all making pretty much the same amount of money per deal. It's just that $250,000 just doesn't go as far. And so when you're trying to sell to a retail buyer or a homeowner, right, it's like you have to who's your new target audience. And we're all navigating that. Like lenders are navigating it from the lender perspective. Flippers are navigating it, and Burr investors are navigating it. And it's just really important to like everybody needs to look at a deal. It's like, hey, is this a deal? And when you say, is this a deal? It's like, is there money in it for everybody involved? And if
Yeah.
it is,
Exactly.
then we need to be on the same team, right? Because that's what I see a lot of times is borrowers will feel like their lenders are not on their team, and lenders will feel like the borrower's not on their team, especially like private lenders, gap lenders. And I'm like, hey guys, we're all on the same team. It is in everybody's best interest, in my opinion, for this deal to go perfectly, right? And if it
Yeah.
doesn't go perfectly, it's in all of our best interests to stay cool.
I think it also assesses. I think from my perspective, like a little bit on, like I said earlier, there's people on Christmas Eve hitting me up saying that their
Yep.
lender disappeared, and I'm like, there's some times when to kind of clarify, it's more or less with me like making sure that I know that I don't have to be out there shopping for a new lender that I've already know my lenders, so I'm not going to necessarily take somebody on that I know I don't have a lender for. If I got a lender for all day long and I'm as a private money broker, I'm on contingency. So I tell people the thing is my agreement's not exclusive. The only thing is if I'm shopping at Dacogo, Vizio, Lending One, you can't shop at Dacogo, Vizio, Lending One. But you can go anywhere else and get it funded. You don't owe me a penny. That my
Mhm.
agreement goes to them to get me funded. But I said my thing is I'm putting in work for you because I have this argument. People who talk about I want direct. Well, I can actually sometimes save people. Like somebody one time they were like, oh, I can get 12%. I don't need a broker. Well, I get you 10%, and my broker fee is equal to 12%. You get, you know. And I always try to make sure that I had the right lender because sometimes I know people. I see people that I trust that I'll refer people. That was just my take on it. Like people do it both ways, and I have no problem if people that's how they want to do it. It's just myself. I just always wanted to have before I sign somebody, making sure that I can actually get their deal done. Otherwise, I know especially if they're on the clock for EMD or anything like that,
Yep.
things can go south, and I don't want to be the I hate being the bearer of net bad news. I was never like a last minute like I don't like the last minute of the 11 o'clock deals. I was never really good at that because my lenders weren't able
Mhm.
to do that. So I was like, dude, I don't know. I could try to refer you to somebody, but I think you're limited when you're a broker. You're not a direct lender. You can't do those things. So that's kind of just where I came from. Just
Right.
making sure that they didn't get screwed. I didn't want anybody to get screwed.
Yeah.
I try to refer them off to people that I knew that could
Mhm.
get deals
I
done.
think you and I do a lot of the same stuff in that respect, as far as like uh, we're bringing people together that are trying to get the deal done. We've got our network of lenders, we've got our network of other whether you call them brokers, connectors, whatever we're calling each other, like we've got our network, and there's people that are very jealous and like are afraid to share their private money lenders with other people, like other brokers or connectors, and that to me, so I have a teammate that I brought on. His name's Dan, and when I was first kind of like started working with Dan, we had a deal where I was like, hey, there's another connector. We're gonna have to share the connector fee with him to get this done. He's like, oh man, but that's not as much connector fee. I'm just like, yeah, it's not, but it's more than zero, and the deal gets done, and you build the relationship. Like it's hard to quantify things sometimes as far as like what's the value of good relationship with somebody with $50,000 in their IRA. It's like I don't know. It's $50,000 three times a year, that I get to use on three separate deals, maybe. Three flips is going to take about 4 months, 2 months to flip and 2 months to sell. Like, okay, that's kind of quantifiable. It's still hard though. It's like if I'm only using them once every 4 months, like, well, now I got to go find more, right? Which is like, yeah, that, I
Yeah.
mean, that's one perspective, but the other perspective is like, you you can pretty reliably, if you do a good job on their flips and you take care of their money, you respect the fact that they worked hard for that money too. Like, you can pretty reliably go back to them 2 to 3 times a year for more, and they'll be ready to go again and again and again. And so like, it's hard to quantify relationships, right? And that's why I was like, hey, like, yeah, the connector fee is smaller. It's cool. We're making a relationship with this connector who maybe we bring him a giant deal one day and we're splitting that connector fee. Like, you
And all,
never really know what's in the future. As long as everybody's like gets to eat at the table, like there's enough food to go around, then it's cool. You know what I mean? That's my perspective. And I think a lot of the brokers or connectors, they get so hung up on like, oh, we don't do JVs, or we don't do like, I don't want you to talk to my lender at all. I'm just like, you're making it difficult, right? You're making it harder to get the deal done, and when time is of the essence, and time is of the essence every day.
yeah, I mean, it's exactly that, and that's I don't know. I get frustrated by a lot of the stuff I see. I think a lot of this group now is kind of a lot of things that I've seen that I just kind of was able to build the group around, like making sure that we have everybody because we have a lot of different perspectives. And the
Mm-hmm.
idea is when Rangers launch and all the modules set up and all the communities are up, then we can actually people can go, and if they want to learn how to connect, if they want to learn how to do a JV agreement, not only can they watch the videos and connect with people doing it, they can then download the forms, the
Yep.
documents that they need specifically. So if they want to do step two, if they want to do seller carry, if they want to do a JV agreement, if they're wholesaling and they want the A to B and the B to C, and even the C to D sometimes, which is a weird one, the weirdest part of the wholesale agreement, but is the C to D because most people don't even know it exists.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it's just trying to make sure we have all the resources. Everything that in this group and everything that's going into Reindeer is basically what I've seen over 8 years, and I get feedback. This whole group gives me, you see all the posts. I mean, it's like when we're on the Zooms, everybody gives feedback, and we kind of I'm
Mm-hmm.
building the group around. I'm building the group around everybody. I'm kind of say they're building the group. It's
Right.
taken to the point where the people in the group now are like, we need to do this, and do we have the competent people to do this? So let's go do it. Because if we have competent people who can run it, then I don't have to worry about it. I can just provide the platform. Because it's kind of that publisher versus platform argument that they have, like with Facebook and Twitter. How
Mm-hmm.
much responsibility they have if somebody goes and does something stupid on Facebook. So unfortunately, I have to be a publisher with all the materials that I'm putting up there. But then as soon as I'm done uploading that, which will take me all through 2025, I'm going to be a publisher at that. I'm a platform at that point because I want to have this peer to peer. The entire thing is people can actually mirror each other. They can learn from each other. They can teach. They don't have to be a guru. They don't have to be the guy with the rented Lambo from Turo or whatever. I've had those conversations before. I can tell a good story. Won't I'll tell you that off the recording sometime. It's a great story about a fake guru, not even in real estate, but it's a great story. It's about it involved the Broncos plane, the
Wow.
Broncos owner plane, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
my dad. I'll give a little bit of it away. My dad was provided health insurance to the dealer for Ferrari and Bentley in Denver, and the guy actually posed with one of the Broncos players' cars, claiming he made his little video for it to promote his guru business and claiming that was his car. And then he was over at the airport because there's a county airport, Centennial Airport's right by. The Broncos practice facility and offices separate from the stadium, and he went over there and he was like getting off a Learjet that was in there. And the last, like the numbers of the tail number were the previous Broncos owner, not the
Mm-hmm.
Waltons from Walmart, the Bolin family. And then their plane was there. And he claimed that was his, I don't think he claimed he's owning it, but then he hired a couple of girls from Hooters or whatever, and little black dresses or whatever, and
Wow.
had the sat phone and all. Yeah, it was not even real estate related, but I just remember it because my dad was his buddy owns the Ferrari dealership in Denver,
Mm-hmm.
And so they told me about that because when I was talking about what I do, and so I want to try to get like I don't have a problem if people are out there really trying to help people, but I think a lot of people do get stuck. And if, like I said, I
Mhm.
went to 23 of these seminars. You can name a HCTV and A&E celebrity for probably I don't know like 10 years ago or even now, but Scott Yancey, Armando Monologo, all those people. I went to all their seminars and I got frustrated. Like I said, I don't want people to spend because a lot of people they have limited money when they're getting started in, and I want them to be able to go and have a good price point, get all the resources they need. I kind of consider myself to be like a librarian or curator, and I've got my entire library is nothing but real estate stuff, and it's
Well, I
like
mean, you've got thousands of files just on your Facebook group.
yeah.
Like I mean, when I'm looking around it, I'm just like, man, I don't even. It's literally like a library. It's like, where do you even start? You gotta pick a book and crack it open. You know what I mean?
Unfortunately, Facebook doesn't allow me to do it, categorize it, and once we have the Reindeer up, it'll be all categorized. It'd be like if you go to the library and you're looking for that 1987 repair manual from Chilton on the Nissan, whatever
Right.
Nissan. The librarian knows where it's at. In
Hmm.
my case, I know where everything is, all the documents. Most of the stuff came from Victor, my partner, who a long time ago, and I won't. That's a kind of a tragic story, but I acquired like I said, 11 thumb drives with a lot of that stuff, and I've just updated it. Some of it I've stuff like that. We're building that live analyzer with Ari in a couple of weeks on November 7th. So everybody that's in our group and everybody that comes into it can actually build their own analyzer. So how good is that when you can actually, because you'll know it inside and out. Ari's going to give all the formulas. Take 2 hours, then we're going to do a second one, and he's going to add in. So he's going to go from fix and flips on the first one. Then he'll add the components for buy and hold. And then we'll add amortization, we'll add exit strategies, all the lending strategies over 3 sessions that are unrecorded. So that excludes, if it's 10 people on there, it's 10 people that'll have that analyzer. I don't know if we'll ever do it again. We're trying to use that as, hey, come to this group, because you've seen probably the post where I say exclusively inclusive. Like, we want to be exclusive to everybody in our group. Once you're in the group, it's inclusive. You have access to everything. The only thing I kind of limit people is my family office and hedge fund contacts, only because it's just I don't want people to call up MIT's endowment fund and ask for $15,000 for a flip. Which so I keep it like everybody can do it. If they tell me you want to do it, then it's cool. I got another group for that, and it's everybody that's in the group now can do it. But it's
Hmm.
like making sure that we have people that don't burn through those because those are valuable. I
Yeah.
closed, my seventh deal in the business in 2018 was a $7.2 million deal. I made $200,000. I'm kind of Lee Arnold and Kogo and all when they promote their private money broker. I'm kind of a legend still, and I don't, people hit me up on Bigger Pockets. You're real? Like, they see me because they're promoting in the whatever they send out materials to get people. Actually, a funny story is I went to 2 more funding tours after that deal, and the second one, I had so many people wanted to sign up for private money broker. They do about 6 different programs, and they do their all the way up to their master programs. And so many people wanted to sign up for private money broker. They didn't want me to come to the third one because they said we need to actually get, I was too much of a rock, and I didn't try to be. It was I closed the deal, dude. It was a family office funded. The family office's background was in steel. The guy was the number 3 or 4 guy. Their great great grandfather was one of the right hands of Andrew Carnegie, and so they built their family wealth in the steel business. So I kind of tell people that it's like, I want people to it's really important for people to come in and feel the social kind of having the social network, kind of having the building friendships. And there's times we go an hour and a half sometimes, and then we'll turn off the recording and then we talk about everything. I think people like to pull for each other. Like, we have somebody who plays bass in their church band on Thursday nights. They don't normally come on the Thursdays, so everybody like pulls for each other, and I think that
Hmm.
builds a better community. And people are actually like people. I want people to feel ownership, and that's why, $3.99 was the price point, because I said most people can afford that. I can pay for all the bills and handle all the touch ups and the upgrades and all that stuff. But that I'll make my money obviously off the Reindeer at the subscriptions. But and what I want to do is revenue share too. I want people to feel like that have come in and that they've kind of been here for 4 years. We have 8 of the first 13 people are still in the group. We have never had anybody. We haven't had a single person ask for a refund. and we only had to remove 3 people, and they had drama before they came in, and they were like, I didn't have a problem like kicking them out. I don't like drama in the group. I don't like people who, I want to make sure people feel welcome and people feel like, when they get we get this going, we get 1,000 subscribers, because like at 100 subscriptions, we'll cut in and we'll start paying the revenue share.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that, $24 a month isn't that great, right? But you get up to 500 subscriptions, 1,000 subscriptions, and start getting a couple $100 a month. If I reach my goal of 10,000 subscriptions, I figured everybody's making in a group of 125. Everybody's making $2,800 a month for
Right.
being in a group they paid $399 to join, and that's going to take. And I'm telling people, it's going to. My goal is 5 years, but I'd like to do it faster. Yes and no. I want to slow roll it because I want quality. I don't want, like I said, I could probably get a lot more people in if I was, but I came over the price point because, when you ask me challenges, I'll tell you one of the challenges with the price point. When we get to what the challenges have been. So, but yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to do, is just create a group that was like very social, very warm, welcoming. We don't judge. Somebody can be talking to, a brand new fix and flipper could be talking to somebody that owns 500 doors, and we have that relationship where people are like pulling for each other. You don't see that in all the other groups. It all becomes, people start rising up in the ranks or hierarchy or whatever, and they, I don't know. I've been to so many. I went to the Pitbull conferences. I went to, and I love those. But it's like sometimes I want people to feel welcome and feel people that they can achieve that. And if they're on a Zoom or later on, if they're having a cocktail with somebody they can actually be treated, as an equal,
Right.
kind of still. And everybody's got the same goals, and everybody started somewhere, and everybody, and talking about your military experience and mine too. You look at like Chris Miller, who rose from E1 private to acting Secretary of Defense. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's a guy that achieved.
That's a story right there.
Yeah. So I want people to do that. They come in and like for the E1, they're brand new. They want to get into real estate, and by the time they're 10, 20 years later, they're equal to like a 4-star or whatever. Or when I was doing fire, I was like a fire chief when I left. I was, I had 19 fire stations under my command when I was 31 years old. 300 volunteer firefighters and all that under me. So the interesting situations at my age. I want people to come in there and develop. It's about development, and like I
Right.
said, people matter. And you have all the resources in the world. If you can download what you want anytime you want, if you can watch the video anytime you want, do the Zooms, eventually participate in communities, communicate, they're gonna succeed a lot faster, in my theory. And it's based on the experience I've seen. Because a couple of people in the group, I won't name them by name, but you probably see them. We had a lady who joined in April. She partnered with another person at a deal in Meridian, Texas, a flip. She's got that flip going now. They're partnering. They're on their 8th deal together since April. She didn't have that much experience. He had a lot of experience. She had other things. Now they're in that Midwest Monster program, and they've got some 3 or 4 rental properties plus the 3 or 4 flips. Had another lady join in June 1st. She got her first rental property through Midwest Monster. So we have programs within the programs, and I tell people all the time, everything that I have, you can find everywhere else. You can find
Right.
it. I've put it all together in one place, and it's taken me 8 years to do it. And it's not that's what I do a lot of times in the afternoon when everybody sees me post in the morning. Then in the afternoon I kind of go dark because I'm working on content.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of an interesting paradigm. So it's kind of cool.
Okay, so you've been in this business a long time as a private money broker, as a real estate investor. You've seen pretty much everything that there is to see within real estate. Where would you recommend that somebody, they're just finishing high school, their choices are like, okay, I'm going to go to college and waste 4 years of my life, or I'm going to go to tech school, or I'm going to go work at McDonald's. Those are my 3 options, right? What if they were like, what if I got into real estate? What would you recommend that they do to start off? I mean, would you say, hey, like go, find a wholesaler and ask to be his bird dog and, learn from him? Or would you say, hey, go start work, go get a trade and then be a GC, and you're going to be introduced to all of the fix and flippers anyways, there's so many different ways to get started. If you could tell 18-year-old Nate Marshall, like, hey, this is what you should do, what would you tell him?
I think it's important. I think people look at the trade and the community colleges these days because I think it's a better bang for the buck. They don't get the student loans issues and stuff later on. Too many people, I think. I mean, I have no problem. I have two college degrees, but it's like, mine was one of them was fire emergency services, and that's what I
Hmm.
did. I would tell them to try to find something that they can go and generate. Unless they're really set on having the college atmosphere, the college life, or maybe they're good at athletics, a good scholarship or something. But if they're
Right.
not, getting a trade helps, or doing the military, or doing that four
Hmm.
years, or at least, I don't know. But getting something like that. But I also said you can do that while you're doing that trade. You can get into my Reindeer where, we're not geared up to help a lot of. I want to be. What I'm trying to do is encourage people to start programs with our program where they can. We talked about it on a Zoom a couple of weeks ago. We are talking about trying to encourage people to bring they're bringing their spouses in. We let everybody bring a spouse in. We said, why not let people bring their kids in and don't have to pay any more extra? Because we'd like to get kids, what if we got this into high schools or something and kids started learning about real estate and investing and credit and all the stuff you guys see? Why are they teaching this stuff when they could be teaching kids life skills? I think it's
Right.
important to learn this, like becoming a landlord, and because I think it also helps in the current situation where a lot of people are hate on landlords because they think they're all BlackRock and they're all, which obviously BlackRock buys a lot of properties, but you and I both know that most of the apartments out there, most of the rentals are mom and pops, just like
Yep.
a just like a local bar or something. They're mom and pops. So trying to get like you can, own a property at 18. Probably, you can own a rental property, get a little extra income, buy a second one, buy a third one. After a few, use that to leverage. Get it if your credit score is over 700, do Midwest Monster. Get in
Hmm.
with Cameron and Willie and get shit. Start at 18. By the time you're 30, you have 50 rental properties. Then you go in even sooner, maybe 25. You trade those 50 rental properties in for a multifamily, or you get a storage complex or things like that. I tell people, you should get in. People should get into real estate. And one of the best stories from my private money broker class was they talk about a kid that was his dad was a private money broker and he came decided to become one himself and he was 18 years old and he was at college and he did his first commission, his first broker fee, and they're like, he only charges a 0.5%. And they're like, Gary, who teaches for Lee Arnold, Gary's like the head of their broker program, said, did you know you can charge like 2 points? Kid's like, I already got the deal done. Said, I don't need so the kid was honest. He could have got like 2 points. He didn't realize he could get 2 points. And he took the broker class because he did the home study to get started. But I do think that honestly, kids today, 18, 19 years old, definitely trade schools, community colleges. I mean, I got a fire science degree from a community college, and then I transferred that with all the background to Colorado State University, got my bachelor's, stuff like that. But it's, trade school and community college, you're not going to have a lot of student loans. If you have to get a student loan, you can get hired right away. Get into real estate, get into something that's going to relate, get into a business or accounting, or even some community colleges have a real estate program. I don't know if people necessarily, most of those are going to be geared towards agents or, you know, appraisers and stuff probably, but it's still worth it to go in and try to learn the industry as a
Yeah,
real
for sure.
estate agent. That's kind of what I
Cool.
recommend.
Okay. Yeah, that's really helpful because I mean I know there's, I mean everybody starts somewhere in real estate and everybody everybody finds their gurus and they find at different stages, and the gurus work for some people and they don't work for other people. Libraries work for some people, you know. The I just think it's really interesting how there's all like pretty much unlimited ways to get into it. You just got to kind of find like you got to pick somewhere to start. You just got to start hacking at it. You know what I mean? And you start working at it. You figure out, okay, I don't really like this, but I like that other thing over there. I'm going to go try that. And you're just building skills and you're networking the entire way that like the entire time that you're doing it. There's no situation where you have networked enough. You know what I mean? And I think that like the relationships that you build in real estate are, I mean, it's different than like you go into your W-2 job, you go to the office, we bitch and moan about our boss, and then we go home and we do whatever. It's like everything in real estate is like, well, you're pretty much your own boss. Well, even if you're an agent, you have a broker. Even if you're on a wholesale team, you got your closers, you got your lead gen, you got your dispo, like you're all it's all just like a team. Even if you've got like your team leader person, like y- there's no really boss, and everybody's just part of your network. Every other dispo person, every other closer that you ever talk to, whether they're on your team or not, I mean, it's an unlimited number of sellers. You know what I mean? It's an
Yeah.
unlimited number of buyers. You gotta do your part of the whole transaction. And the whole transaction starts with like, hi, are you interested in selling your house? And it finishes with, hey, are you interested in buying this house that was just recently renovated? And that's like a lot of people in that transaction that brought value and made money and helped other people complete whatever they were trying to complete, whether it was getting out of a pre-foreclosure, whether it was avoiding capital gains taxes by doing seller financing, or getting out of like a probate situation, or just like closing a chapter of their life, whatever it is, because I've walked houses where like the house would be a fine house, but when you're like walking through the house that you're walking through somebody's worst memories. There's a house that I'm closing on tomorrow or Friday. And I walked it with like my inspector earlier this week, or last over the weekend, and there's like a little whiteboard in the kitchen. And it says like, I wish this was all just a bad dream. I wish you were here. And it's like it's the current owner, her dad had lived there, and her dad had died of some
Yeah.
whatever, however it happened. But it's like you're walking through someone's worst nightmare, and you have to take that, like their worst memory, and you have to turn it into somebody else's like cherished memories. And I think that's like one of the coolest things about real estate,
Yeah.
is being able to enter like some of like the darkest things that humanity has to offer. When you enter some of these houses, you'll enter like foreclosure homes that have like a child's bedroom, and it's like kids' toys, and it's just like that kid, like their the worst thing that could happen to like a 5-year-old is being homeless, and this kid, like their family lost their house. Like, how do you like fix that, but you have to take those memories that are in that house and turn them into somebody else's like cherished experiences. I think that's just like one of the really cool things about whatever part of the transaction you're at, whether you're providing the funding, whether you're doing the flip itself, whether you're the lead gen, the dispo, the closer, you're that's the type of like positivity that everybody's bringing in. And so I really disagree with you. It's like, there's a lot of different ways to get into it. Probably some of the not easy but simplest ways would be to like, hey, go get a trade. You're going to be forced into situations where you're working with other real estate investors.
Yeah.
And it's like, what real estate investor doesn't need an electrician guy, a plumber guy, a sheetrock guy, a flooring guy, a tile guy? Like every flipper that exists, every real estate investor, they need a guy for everything, right? So I would say, like, if you have nowhere else to start, you take that like couple of years to learn that trade.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to
Yeah.
be forced into situations where you're talking to real estate investors regardless.
Yeah. I think that. Yeah. I mean, I
And
agree, and I
then
think.
and then you're part of that transformation of like terrible memory here turns into like cherished home over here.
Yeah. Because then it comes back to some of the times I wish, like, some people had gone through some of the situations I had as a fire investigator and stuff. I had to go and people's houses were burned down or people died and stuff. Like a guy
Yep.
died on Christmas night and stuff. I remember in Las Cruces, and it was. I think you have to develop empathy, and I don't think there's. I honestly do think there's a lot of wholesalers out there that don't care. They're just like, let's go make the
Mhm.
money. But I'm also like, I preach to new people all the time. There's a lot of money. It's my theory. There's a lot of money to be made. There's even more to be made if you do things crooked, but it's short lived. You can make a lot of money if you have empathy and you go and maybe instead of going and you you get it super cheap from them for the foreclosure. Give them a couple thousand or whatever, cash or keys or whatever. Let them kind of give them some hope. If you're going to do a rental property, maybe even work a deal with, maybe if somebody's going to rent a property, maybe they will. Your buyer might be their landlord. That could be a
Mhm.
good situation. Put them back into keep them in their house as a renter. Let them have 2 or 3 years as a renter to build up and do lease to own or rent to own and get their house back. And you give people hope. And I think that's important. Not every case. I mean, I'm going to say not every case is going to apply to that, but I've kind of talked about that on our Zooms we do as well, like having some empathy, having showing the human side, like because I think the real estate industry is kind of getting a bad. I mean, it just depends on politics. Without getting into politics, everybody knows it's kind of there's a lot. It's one. They always think that everybody's at BlackRock's out there buying up everything, and they always want to like, hey, whatever housing costs. And obviously, I live in Colorado, and a lot of people don't know my brother's actually in the state legislature in Colorado. So I happen to, he's in the opposite party of what I believe, but I see a lot of people that are in his party that I watch on Twitter just because I see him. And I know there's some horrible people that hate landlords and they want to whatever. And I try to tell people that a lot of this that hate, sometimes it's those people, but sometimes wholesalers and other people in our industry bring it on themselves and some of that negativity. And I think people could go out there and try to be, a little bit different in how people approach it. Like I tell people all the time, the we buy ugly houses people aren't really the people you want to sell your house to because they're not going to be buying. They're not buying it anyway. A lot of people don't understand that, and I don't try to throw wholesalers on the bus. So there's some good ones. There's some great ones. We have people in the group that do it, but I think there are some people that are just trained. Some of the wholesaling gurus are ridiculous, and you probably see my post where I'm like, because people like always wake up. They know I wake up at like 2:30 and 3 in the morning, and things pop in my head. I post them in the morning, and it's like I do that 7:50 in my car every morning. Which is a great story because I put live from the Outback. Somebody's like, "You're not in Australia." I'm in my Subaru Outback. But long story short, on that, I go back to, I want people, wholesaling gurus. I probably see 5 to 8 popping up every day, just in my feed. Because I joke all the time. People, you think what's in your inbox? Wait till you see what's in my inbox. When I wake up every day, people outside the group, and then people argue with me, and then people when I tell people, oh yeah, it's $3.99 or whatever, and they're like, oh, why would I do a paid group? And then I'm like, hit me up 5 or 6 times. Oh, can you do this deal now? I'm like, no, I mean, it's kind of a weird phenomenon. People get upset about that, but I'm like, but then they'll go pay like Xeris or Fortune Builders like $5,000 or something. And I tell people the Fortune Builders is like, everything's an upsell, and they get you what they call Super Mystery Weekend. And Super Mystery Weekends, that's what I joke about it. It's that big Amway thing. And you're probably, from your military background, you're kind of like happy with this story that we had when I was at Fort Benning back in 94, 95, we actually had, there was a master sergeant who had an Amway organization that was so big, they sent a general from the Pentagon to investigate to make sure there wasn't command influence. Like there wasn't chain of command, like because there was drill sergeants in it. There were holdovers from basic training that were over from most where they were in it. Rangers were in it. There was a lot of Rangers in it. And so that's a great story. We went up to Atlanta. It was like 40 cars from Fort Benning to go to Atlanta to go up to to go to Amway's meeting, and I was in it. I just got my box of stuff, and I was like, cool. I didn't really sell anything. I was like, whatever. This sucks. So I try to tell people about that. Fortune Builders is the same way. You're going to go out there and get upsold. You're going to get upsold. You're going to get upsold. It's you join at the basic level. The next thing you want is the lenders. Well, no, now you got to become a premier member. I don't know if that's what they call it that, but you know how it goes. Gurus like upsell. You want to do this. You want to be at this level. You got to pay more. There's a lot of gurus that are. I mean, there's a lot of gurus and stuff that I just don't like that whole moniker. I think there's a lot of people that repackage, and they basically just get somebody else, keep repackaging over and over, and all it changes is the name and the person and the font and the colors and the logos and stuff. Everything in real estate's almost stolen in a way, or repurposed or repackaged. So I kind of tell people about that, sometimes as well. I think the biggest thing to our group is just the networking. It's the people. And then the resources are awesome. Like I tell people, you can get it everywhere because I think Victor did, and I have. We've got everything. Some of them we've had made. We've had it made in Fiverr. I've been using the same guy in Fiverr for 2018, and I've for my graphics, I have the same guy from Fiverr who does a lot of my my Excel stuff and all that stuff. So I think that's important just to point out, though, that I still believe the number one asset of Reindeer is the people in it right now that are part of the private money associates, which is what is transitioning to Reindeer. But I think it's the people. And I think, 150 something people Strong is great. Life Changing has 5 people in there. When you have a lender come on board and they feel so much that they're getting quality deals, that they have 5 of their owners in there, 2 of their loan officers, and 1 of their title people.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. To me, that's a lot of confidence. That gave me the confidence to actually, because this was going to be a separate thing. I was going to build it. And then this group, I never knew when this group was going to end. We didn't think we were going to keep it together longer than 6 months to a year. We did take like almost all of 2022 off. We got so burned out. We were doing 3 or 4 Zooms a week. Just like COVID. Once COVID ended, the shutdowns ended. It was like, but then we just kept it. And like I said, we have 8 people out of the first 13 that are still with us. So I feel really good about that too. That
Right.
people have been there and they're getting deals done. Ari's one of the best, guys. He's building that. He's phenomenal. So we have a lot of good people in the group, and I think, honestly, I think it's just going to get stronger once we activate on or go live in the next 2 weeks on Agents Gather with it. It's going to be people are going to be flocking to it because they know for $99. If they don't like it, they can quit after 1 month. They don't have to go and worry. I just spent $2,500 or something, and the gurus have that special guru print that on the paperwork that says they're not getting a refund, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like I think I'm like I can say that it's like it takes like NASA's like real or probably Elon Musk could probably have something that could read that guru font because it's so small. But I tell people for $99, you come and try it for a month. Because people have talked about the price point. Well, aren't you where they're going to come and download and leave? There's no way they're going to download that much information in 30 days.
Right.
Because I'm the one who has done that. I'm the one who's I know that stuff inside and out. So I'm trying to make sure that everybody has like we talked about. It's a library, and
Mm-hmm.
once we're on, people can go and find whatever they need. They can get, if they want to do storage, they'll be able to go get a storage analyzer, start learning it. Everything's easy to use. If they want to do short-term rentals, if they want to do multifamily syndications, they start getting into the SEC. So kind of along too on phase 3. We talked about community. Phase 3 is going to be a legal center, and I'm going to have 5 or 6 attorneys, and there's going to be another price increase. So it'll go from 99 to 149 to 199, each of those $50. But that one is going to go exclusively to basically retain lawyers to run that legal center, kind of like LegalZoom, like having a real estate investor's LegalZoom, and being able to have attorneys in there, and then even having them be able to offer like a 15-minute consultation, knowing they're going to get money. So if I have 1,000 people join at that 149 or whatever, eventually it's going to go to $399, but $50 of that will always go to pay those attorneys. And if I have 5,000 people in the group or whatever paying that, those, then I can compensate attorneys, and I can have a lot of people can have access to everything that I see people are begging for.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is when people go out there and they get desperate or something, then they make a stupid decision. They go with somebody that they probably shouldn't have got to get it. And I think what we try to cut down is making sure everybody has. It's kind of like democratizing real estate investing. And I don't want to use like a political term again, but it's making sure that everybody has access. So it's a library. And then there'll be a store for people outside the group, and then people will get revenue share from that. But a document for somebody outside that might be like $200, $300. Or if they're in the thing that's $99. So I think it's a great price point. One of the challenges has been price point, because people have brought up like at $399, why don't you charge $1,500, $2,000? Because people might think it's more valuable. But I'm like, everybody that joins the group, the first thing they say is they go to that files tab. As hard as it is for the way Facebook has it, people compliment me right away, like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you have all this stuff. You have like 10 things that I know I need that I didn't even think about."
Mm-hmm.
And that's awesome, and that's what I really feel good about that. That really makes me when people, sometimes people hit me up, "Where's this?" and I'll go in and try to highlight it or send it to them directly, because it's just Facebook not easy to deal with on how I can't what I picture in my head and what I can do on Agents Gather with it. I can't do with Facebook. That's one of my challenges. Is basically I have a vision of that I can't do on Facebook, that I can do
Mm-hmm.
it. We build our own. Danny's going to build it. I can do it. It actually exceeds my expectations. So it's awesome. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Cool. Well, hey, so okay. So if somebody wanted to connect with you, somebody wants to go check out like Agents Gather, Reindeer, check out like the community that you're building, get in touch and say, hey, like how do I get started? Like how do I get to interact with Nate? Where do people find you at?
Well, I'll be found on Facebook under Nate Marshall 303 is my I guess profile. My email address is info@privatemoneyauthority.com. On Agents Gather, so I don't own it. It's Danny Skelly's, but people can join and get a free account there, and once they complete it, if they are part of our program, they will get an upgrade from him in exchange for 3 to 4 substantial posts a month. That's normally $179 for a lifetime
Right.
there, so it's a pretty good deal. They can go there and check it out on free, and they can connect with me on there, and I'm at Nate M303. And then I do have the Zoom group because I not only post our Zooms from our group in the Facebook group, but I post them also in a Zoom group there at Agents Gather, just so they're all together in one place. Because in our group, you see it all the time. It's like it scrolls. I post the Zoom there. There's 100 more posts by the morning, and I want people to be able to find stuff. So that's the best way to do it, is just reach out or email me, info@privatemoneyauthority.com, or Nate Marshall 303 on Facebook. Those are the best ways, really.
Got it. Awesome. Well, hey, thanks so much for coming on tonight. I don't know what time it is there. I think it's only 7:30 there. It's like 9:30 here on the East Coast. But I really enjoyed this conversation. I go back and I always hate missing the Zooms that you're hosting. People get busy. There's only so many hours in a day. But this has been a very valuable conversation. I think there's gonna be a lot of value gained from the audience, as far as like some of the experiences that you have, getting the opportunity to reach out to you and say, hey, like, how did you get started? Where are we going as like a market, as an industry? What are some things that you've seen that have changed over time? What are some things that have stayed the same? I just hope the audience gets a lot of value out of this conversation. But again, thanks for coming on tonight. And
yeah, I'll catch you on the Zoom or catch you on the Facebook group.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. You have a good rest of your night.
Reindeer's going live in 2 weeks. So
that's awesome.
Cool.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Thanks, man.
Okay.
Bye.